All right. Welcome, everyone. We've got quite a mixed crew of registrants, people who've registered. So welcome, everyone, to the Puy webinar tonight. As I said, we have a lot of people who have registered, I think over 200, which is amazing. So thank you so much for setting time aside to join us tonight. As I said, we've got a mix of people, some who have booked who will be heading out this year, some who have booked who will be heading out next year, and some I think who maybe just want to get to know a little bit more about this walk. So hopefully we'll go over, answer any questions at the end, but really give you a better understanding of this particular Camino route in France. So what we'll be doing, I'll give you an idea of how we're going to be running this webinar. So first we'll be going over who we are, what we offer as Raw Travel, why somebody would want to walk the Puy Camino. We will be talking to a guest who has just completed her time on the trail. So we will be getting a nice, fresh perspective of somebody who's just come off the trail. We'll do a little journey along the trail, talking about the terrain, some highlights that you can expect to see along the way. And then we'll dive a little deeper, going into specifics like type of accommodation, the food you would find, luggage, and so on. And then we'll finish off with some questions. So in case we didn't answer anything or address something, it gives you time to submit a question, which you would do in the chat. And we do have a team behind our computer who will be writing that down and sending us. And we'll have prizes along the way. So definitely pay attention because we will have some prizes that will relate to what we're talking about in the webinar. So without further ado, let's get started. All right. So who is Raw Travel? So for some of you, this might be your first time encountering our services. Others who have booked, I hope you know who we are by this time. But essentially, we're established experts in walking holidays, and we've been doing this for over 20 years. We do a mix of hiking adventures primarily, but we also offer cycling itineraries as well.
And e-bike.
Yeah, our e-bike cyclings are very popular. We offer itineraries around the world, so Japan, New Zealand, Europe, UK, and we're constantly expanding. So definitely, if you're interested in what we offer, go onto the website and you can see exactly what we provide. We do a mix of, group trips, custom itineraries, and we really are passionate about the trails that we provide. So anybody you talk to at Raw Travel is an expert. They've hiked that trail and they give that insight on what's going to make that a really amazing holiday for you. Now, who are we, Sue? That's a deeper question.
Yep. So my name's Sue. I work in the Camino team. I was the destination manager for Le Puy Camino before I passed over to Liz.
I've passed
the torch, but I'm still heavily involved in it. I also these days focus mostly on Italy. Italy's become very popular, so growing Italy, and oversee the Portuguese Camino.
Lovely. Yeah, so and like Sue said, I'm looking mainly after the Puy Camino in France, but I do dabble in other Camino routes such as the Camino Frances, Del Norte, Primitivo. There's lots of Caminos we offer, so definitely if you're interested, check our website out. You'll see everything. But let's go into what we offer. So with our Camino trips, they are self-guided adventures. So really, none of our trips are guided. And we want to give people that freedom out on the trail. So we really, with some guided, it is valuable, but we find with Camino routes, they're really well maintained. It's clear where to walk. And part of that, enjoyment is your personal adventure. So
discovery.
So all of our Camino trips are self-guided. We do custom itineraries. So, we really do tailor itineraries specific to clients and their needs. So if you have a particular walking distance you're comfortable with, or maybe you have a certain period of time you have to work with, we work with guests from all over, really building custom trips designed just for them.
Yeah, not everything's possible, but we'll certainly do our best. And if it's not possible, we'll let you know what is and come up with an alternative that can work.
And we also do set departure dates. So those are our self-guided group trips. Those are really, I would say, enjoyable for people who like the company of others. We still keep our group trip sizes to an intimate size, so between 8 to 10 people. So it's not overwhelming like a crowd of people, but it's enough people where you get to meet different people every day, but you still can form those connections. And those trips are really, you know, beneficial for solo hikers or people who might feel a bit timid hiking on their own and like the company of a group. So why walk the Le Puy Camino?
So the Le Puy Camino is my favourite, I'd say equal favourite Camino route of all. I would say it's the most beautiful Camino route of all. If you're talking about sheer beauty of the landscape and the countryside, it's an iconic pilgrimage route. It focuses very heavily on French culture, traditions, history. You're walking through plenty of diverse landscapes, but you're also seeing amazing historic, small, charming villages and historic sites that are largely away from the tourist trail too. So it's a very authentic experience, in contrast to perhaps other routes that can be more touristy or more busy with foreigners. It's a great chance to really get to know the country, the people, their way of life, discover the food, which is amazing, of course, one of the highlights. Yeah. And I think it gives a great balance of that sort of sense of community and meeting people, predominantly French people, but getting to know about the destination and solitude rather than some more crowded routes.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, if you love France, French culture, it is an iconic trail and you will love that about, you know, that is the highlight of it. But it's also France. a Camino.
Yes,
it's a pilgrimage.
So, but France is the star of this show.
Yes, I would say that is. So I think, you know, you gave an amazing description, but some of our guests might be like, well, I want to hear from somebody who's done it. You know, you're trying to put me into one category, but we want to hear from a guest. Yes. So we are lucky enough to be joined by a guest who has just completed her Camino, her Le Puy experience.
So we have Linda with us.
Yeah.
So Linda first walked a Camino with us back before COVID. And she walked the Camino Frances as part of one of our women's group. Since then, last year, she walked the first half of the Le Puy Camino with some friends. And then this year, she's walked the second half by herself. So she's perfectly placed to talk about the highlights of the Le Puy Camino and what makes it so special and about her experiences. So
welcome, Linda.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to hear from you.
Yeah. Oh, my pleasure.
So I might start with a question, Linda, if you don't mind. What were some of your highlights when you did the Le Puy Camino? What stood out for you?
It fell into three sort of distinct areas. The first would be the actual cities that you spend time in. The first being Le Puy, which was an absolute highlight. It's a stunning city, a large town. It doesn't have a city feel. It's all low. There's nothing big and modern in the town. It's well serviced, so if you need your last minute bits and pieces, you can get them. But the cathedral is a magnificent place to start the walk from. You really feel like you are part of history, and it is it's just stunning. It was a beautiful city. And then there's a photograph there of a city on a river, and that's Estang, which I absolutely adored. It's one of the great, beautiful villages of France. Stunning. The people are lovely. The gelati is really good. And on a hot day, really nice. So absolutely beautiful. And there are a number of towns along rivers that were absolutely stunning. The next photograph that you can see there is the town of Conques, which was like stepping into something from Harry Potter or being transported somewhere magical. It is old, old, old. There's very few cars allowed in the centre of the town, so it's a walking town. Absolutely beautiful. The weather was awful when we were there. It was pouring, so the cobblestone's a little bit slippery, but it didn't take away from how magnificent it was. And then places like Figeac, another key pilgrim town. And then after Cahors, so in the second half, my walk this year, the town of Lectoure, absolutely stunning. So you don't walk through any big cities, which is really nice. These are small towns, but beautifully preserved, and very reflective of the environment around them. So I think the cities were a real highlight for me. The other major highlight would have been the accommodation with the private homes, and that was unbelievable in both parts. Stayed in unforgettable places, still in touch with some of the hosts. They are just welcome you into their home. They cook amazing food. They teach you about the local produce, the local aperitif, scold you if you want to have white wine with your main course. I was allowed with one of the gentlemen. He said, well, I will let you have rosé. And then Marie in the mill, beautiful old mill that she has restored on her own. Michelle, who is someone that you would be lucky to stay with in her home. So just fabulous people that made you feel, after walking quite solitary, like it's like coming home, and they just look after you, do laundry for you sometimes, which was really special, chase luggage if it happened to get, which doesn't happen often, but they were just great. So that was a highlight, was the accommodation and the food and the friendship that the hosts provided. And then just the geography of the area. Leaving Le Puy, you go up onto the Aubrac Plateau and you look over. It's the roof of France. You just look for miles. It's windswept, lots of cattle, just beautiful. And then you drop down into cities along rivers. And again, just stunning geography that keeps changing. It is challenging geography, but I think just the vistas were a highlight for sure.
Well, Linda, you've done our presentation for us, so I think that's a wrap.
Do you mind it, Linda? This is a question without notice. Someone did just ask, they just quickly wanted to know, how good is your French?
It needed to be better. That is one thing I would definitely, I actually had that down in my, just if anyone wanted any advice, you need to have a few phrases, because you are in places where now they don't speak English. That's just, and it's a lot of Google Translate, and I mean, Claude's really good now. It's very fast. But yeah, you do, and you need to know some of the traditions. Like, you walk into a store, you say bonjour. If you don't say bonjour, you won't get served. So
yes, manners matter.
Manners matter in these towns. These are fiercely proud French and then Basque people, not to get them confused. And I think it is, it's important. I had very minimal, I coped, but it took me coming out of my comfort zone.
And really quickly, before we move on to our next question, we've got a question from a guest saying, when did you walk? Because you did 2 times, no?
Yeah, both times I have walked in May through to June. So started, cool, but I was also high. So that kind of cancels that out. But finished in heat. So would not walk past the middle of June.
Yes.
It just gets, especially, and this year you only had to see.
Oh, I walked in June, and I can attest it was very hot.
Yeah,
but
it just gets unpleasant. Like it was 37s, 38s to that this year. So no.
So we're just going to come to the next question just to make sure we're covering your topics. So the benefit, you've traveled with us before, and this isn't your first Camino, and a lot of our guests do compare a lot of their Camino experiences. And a lot of people actually start with the Frances, or maybe they're looking at different walks. So because you've done the Camino Frances in Spain and the Le Puy in France, how would you compare the 2 routes, similarities, differences?
Okay, well, firstly, the similarity is you are walking, and you are
you're walking.
You're walking a very long way, and you're footsore in both. I think that's fair enough. Particularly, I think the Le Puy has a lot more hard road, particularly in the second half. There was a lot of tarmac, and I think you really need to be aware of wearing your shoes on lots of different terrains. The Francais is very romantic. It's well advertised. There are movies. I was inspired to walk it because of watching The Way. I'm sure millions of people. There are novels written about it. It's a romantic setting, and you have this vast number of people that are walking it. And you move in a sea of humanity from all around the world, many, many different people. It's crowded. It's not the actual path at times, but there's a sense of a lot of people. You get to the Le Puy and it is quite solitary. During the day, you might see nobody quite frequently. And then it's only at the end of the day you're conscious that other people are walking with you at the same time. So I found those things different. There's not as much support on the Le Puy between accommodation. So you don't have the little coffee wagon set up every 5 kilometres. You might walk 17K and not see anything. So, that was quite different, and had to get my head round that. Everything's much smaller. The towns are smaller. Everything's quieter. It's a lot more personal, I think. Every Camino is personal, but this one is very much you are just on your own in nature rather than part of some grand tour, I think, with the first one.
And with the slide we're looking at, can you just explain, with the Le Puy and the Française, the signage is different. So some might not be aware that.
Yeah. So the signage in France is the white and red stripes, which are at the start, obviously, as the Camino Francais, because it starts in France. There are some others, but it is largely following those red and white stripes. There's also the GR65 markers, and most of the people I met were walking it as a walk, as a hike, not a pilgrimage. And they were walking for 5 or 6 days, not the massive amount of time. But it's well signposted. Didn't get lost, don't think. No, didn't get
Well, you're here, so you made it.
I might have taken a slightly round route in some of the places, but
okay.
Yeah, it is. There's not as many of the shells, so you're not as conscious of it being like part of a pilgrimage. That's just not the signage there. But it's pretty. Yeah, I think it's equally as well signposted.
All right. And we have one more question and I'll let Sue ask this one.
So what advice would you give to any people listening or to people who may be asking or watching the recording later, to future people or people who are considering walking the Le Puy Camino in future? I know you've mentioned about the shoes, but yes, and about learning a few words of French. What other tips or recommendations would you give, Linda?
I think you need to be pretty fit, as in not just you be aware that you're doing a lot of climbing, a lot of ascents and descents, and they're quite steep. Coming down into Conques, really steep. Getting out of Conques, really steep. Then you climb down, then you're always going up again.
Yeah.
Leaving Cahors, like hands and knees scrambling up the first 50 meters of that path. It was just crazy. So, right at the start, the first week out of Le Puy is quite challenging physically because it's just quite long, very few breaks and steep.
And you've provided these photos for us, and they kind of give a bit of how would they pull into your tips for people?
Okay, well, the one on the right, the landscape, that was out after Saint-Palais, just so I'm almost at the end. I'm getting towards the second end of the second part. And that road doesn't look long and steep, but it was very long and very steep.
Yeah,
and very exposed, and it actually was surprisingly hot. So I think you just need to be prepared to be on your own, that you need to heed the advice that you're given about what supplies to take. You need to be au fait with the app, because when there are, routes that take you around places, really valuable. So that would be that one there. And the other one is a group I met in Lectoure. I stayed there for 2 nights. Great town. And this is a group of 2 Aussies are there, but there's 4 French people that we all got put to a table together. There's no pilgrim meals as such. They don't have a board saying pilgrim dinner or whatever. And I think because it's such a solitary walk at times, and to actually get out of your comfort zone and have fun with meeting other people that are walking, and just immerse yourself in what the town has to offer. Give it, like the gentleman there did not speak a word of English. The lady next to me, Sylvie, was actually very good. Her English was pretty strong. But really good fun to meet people. And I think because it's not set up as tourist destinations or pilgrim spots, that you need to just take it on yourself to go, okay, I'm just going to see what I can discover. And I'm still in touch with the people in the photograph.
I love that.
I think we might have just got a message through. I just saw it pop up from people who had dinner with you in Lectoure. So
yes,
Martin and Linda, is it?
Yep, that's right. So sitting there against the wall under the
What a small world this is. Well,
it is.
I do have one. You're actually quite popular, Linda, with our guests, because you keep getting questions, and I think this one is a good way to round out your time with us. So what was, somebody's basically said, which one would you prefer, the first or the second half, or both equally, of the trail, of the Le Puy trail?
That's like choosing your favorite child.
I know. You can say you love it all. That is an acceptable answer.
The accommodation. I was going through I think visually the first half was quite breathtaking. And I think the towns, the environment, absolutely stunning. But then the hospitality and the food in the second half were really exceptional. Parts of the second half I did find, and I did jump on a car and dodge a bit, because I just thought, I'm not going to walk, because it was very flat. And for me, that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I spoke, and obviously you organised it for me that I didn't have to walk the boring bit.
But
that was all. I met up with people that walked it, and they loved it. That it just wasn't for me. So I took advantage of the fact that I could get a bespoke part done, and that was great. So it's hard to say. I loved the walking on my own and having to meet people. And then I loved walking with friends in the first half. So it's really hard to say. I don't think I could. I think you need to walk the whole thing.
I think that's a great way to end the segment, because I think you've given us a lot, and we are going to do a deeper dive into the trail. But we want to thank you, Linda, for taking the time to speak.
Oh, my pleasure.
And I'm sure you've helped some people get a better picture. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Linda.
Really my pleasure. Okay. Happy trails.
Lovely. All right. So we're just going to continue moving on. And first, we're going to go over to a map and do a bit of a deeper dive into this trail, just so people can understand the terrain, and more so what Linda was speaking about. And we'll give some photos to that. And then we'll move into some more specific questions along the trail. So here, if people look at the map, they can see this is a map of the Le Puy Trail. It starts in Le Puy-en-Velay, just below Lyon, and it finishes in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is actually where the Camino Frances begins. So the Le Puy is in France. But if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you can see a geographic map of the Camino network, which spans all over Europe. And if you focus on France, you'll see there's actually several Camino trails in France, so it's not just this one. Now, raw travel, we only offer the Le Puy Trail, and it really is the iconic Camino route in France. It's the most service. I would say it's the most visually stunning. So really, if you had to pick and choose a Camino route in France, this is the one you would want to hone in on. Now, if we're looking at the popular stopping points for Camino, our full-length trail, we do like to include rest days so that you do get time to stop, enjoy some really spectacular towns, but also take care of some, services along the way. So for our full-length itinerary and how we break our itineraries, we start in Le Puy, we add a rest day in Conques, and then following Cahors, following that Condom, and then finally Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. Essentially, all our itineraries on our website, aside from the side variants we'll go into, are a combination of us kind of cutting and chopping up those sections. But you can see from a bird's eye view, this is the Le Puy in its entirety. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice brush stroke of the different sections. So Le Puy de Conques, Conques de Cahors, and talk about the terrain and some highlights you can look at or get excited about along the way. So starting your walk, Stu.
So starting your walk, as Liz mentioned, you start in Le Puy-en-Velay, just south of Lyon in France. So it's easily accessible by rail from Lyon and also from Paris. So it's a great starting point. It's a fabulous, historic, so medieval town. Like Linda mentioned, it's not high-rise, it's not modern, it's sort of low-rise. This photo on the left-hand side gives you a perfect sort of viewpoint, a realistic impression of what it's like. So that's the photo looking out of the arch of the church down into the old sort of medieval cobblestone winding streets below. It's very atmospheric. It's also known, the cathedral is the Le Puy Cathedral. It's Romanesque architecture, but it's known for its Black Madonna statue, so it's very famous for that. And it's also, of course, famous as the starting point of your pilgrimage. So they have a pilgrim mass there at 7 o'clock in the morning. We recommend people who are going to walk the Le Puy Camino attend the pilgrim mass. It's a very special experience. After the mass and getting a blessing, the special doors open and you walk out of the cathedral, descend down the stairs.
And that's what that photo is on the left. You leave the mass, and that's essentially the road you see in front of us is the trail that you begin.
So it's a really iconic way to start your pilgrimage. The town of Le Puy-en-Velay is UNESCO town. The cathedral is a UNESCO heritage site. So it's a really special and personal sort of experience, a way to start your walk. Now, once you start walking, this first section, so I'm going to talk about the 2 weeks or 13 days itinerary on our website between Le Puy-en-Velay and to Conques. So the first sort of week of that, you're walking through an area of the Central Massif of Europe, so it's high country, and you're walking through an area then called the Aubrac Plateau. So it's high country, it's great, agricultural, but predominantly grazing rather than cultivated areas. So it's quite rugged terrain. It is, the Aubrac Plateau is like a volcanic plateau, so it can be quite rugged underfoot. It's remote, it's sparse, sort of humble rural settlements, but beautiful sort of countryside. I say it's more, I like to describe it as a hike rather than a walk, especially this section. You really feel like you're hiking. It's not often, like in this photo, you see two people within sight of each other. I found it's not often that I was in sight of other walkers. I was very at one with the countryside, the nature, small little communities. Some small little communities have become depopulated.
Yes.
But there's other small little sort of stone villages that are very atmospheric and charming. After that sort of first week through that countryside, and there's plenty of ups and downs, but you're going across sort of a high plateau with some longer distances, You then descend once you get to a place called St. Shelley de Albrac, you then descend into the start of the Lot River Valley.
Yes.
So it's quite a steep river valley at that part. It's quite like a narrow gorge. And you then walk for the next sort of 5-6 days through a beautiful string of villages sort of nestled on the banks of the river. So Linda showed you a photo of Estang, but there's other villages like Espalion,
yes,
Golinak, St. Combe de Ault that are just gorgeous. They're small, they're very authentic, very quintessentially French. Beautiful little bridges across the river. You start to see chateaus.
But so you're talking about the villages, Sue, but I can see, here's a photo of you and some beautiful bovine beauties.
Yes,
but they're very unique to this region.
Yeah, so the first week when you're walking across the Albrac Plateau area, the high country, it's grazing country.
Yes.
But the cattle actually, because of its high elevation, up to 1,500 metres, the cattle isn't grazing up there all year. So they actually bring it down to the lowlands in the cooler months in the winter. And then they have a procession where they bring the cattle up to the high farmlands as the warmer weather hits. So that's around the 20th of May each year. And it's called the transhumance. So they dress the cows up with like headdresses. They have their bells on, like you can see in the photo. So that's a really special time to be there. That sort of period in May is an amazing time to walk. Yes. And it's a really something special to see. You do need to book early, though, to get accommodation. It does fill up.
Yes.
Because there's only limited places to stay through there too.
So now we've gone through the Aubrac Plateau. We've passed through beautiful Plubeau village, and we arrive at this crown jewel.
Yes. So
where is this?
The end of this sort of first section, the first sort of 2-week section, and there you can see Liz walking through the streets of this lovely village. It's called Conques. So for me, it's like something out of a dream. It's like a medieval fairy tale village. It's so atmospheric. It's mostly pedestrianised. There's no trains or buses or through transport going through there. It's just, you feel like you've stepped, hundreds, almost 1,000 years back in time wandering through the streets.
And it really is a highlight for pilgrims. Yeah. Many people say it is like one of the special towns, villages you'll pass along the way. And there's a lot of services that are dedicated to pilgrims. So you'll see, I'll be walking in front of the cathedral and, you'll arrive, you'll have dinner, but then at night they actually hold a lot of services, such as the priest will come and talk about the building. They'll have a light show maybe on the cathedral, a concert inside. So it really is a town I would recommend. We do include a rest day in most of our itineraries, but for many people, they say, you've done this epic journey in this first section, and you really do arrive at this beautiful destination in Conques. So that kind of gives a good brushstroke of that first section.
I agree. And it's a really fitting, if you're doing a 2-week trip, it's a really fitting place as a full stop to finish that journey.
But it is challenging. So you do earn your rewards, but spot prize time. So here at Raw Travel on our webinars, we do want to make this fun and informative and also give you a chance to win a prize. So here for our spot prize on the Puy webinar, you have a chance to win our Cicerone guidebook, which is for the Podiensis, which is the Puy Camino. So this is a guidebook we do recommend our guests purchase before their trip. You do have your Raw Travel app, which is your itinerary and navigation, but this you can see is going to have a lot more weight to it in terms of history, and it's just going to give a lot of flavor about what you're seeing along the trail. So how our spot prizes work is we're going to ask a question and you will type the answer into the chat. So the first person to get the answer wins, and you'll just want to send us, if you are the winner, your email so that we can follow up with sending this through the post to your address. So the first question, what are the key towns and rest day stops on Raw Travel's full-length Le Puy itinerary? So we just went through the map and we talked about the key places we stop if you're doing the full-length walk. And
5 towns.
Yes, hint, 5 towns. So these are major stopping points, not because they're just big towns, but they're also practical because they offer services such as pharmacies, shops, laundromats. 5 towns. Do we have anybody? We've got some. I can see some. I can see some. You go to list all 5, beginning, end, and middle.
I think
This might be
there's
the
some
early one.
comfort.
If you go to our website and you click on the full length, you can find that. Do we have anything?
Do we have a winner?
Yes.
Yes. Who's the winner?
We have a winner. So Jan with a double N. Jan. So please send us your email so we can follow up. And you yourself are a proper owner of our Podiensis guidebook. Congrats, Jan.
And if you didn't win, don't lose heart, because we've got another
opportunity to get one. So moving on. So now we're moving on to the next section after Conques. So we're focusing on Conques to Cahors. So this is where we skirt around the Lot Valley, which is those limestone cliffs. You're following along the Lot River. So a lot of riverside towns. And really following Conques, you have 2 days walk, and then you arrive in Figeac, which is a beautiful town. And hikers actually have three trail options to arrive in Cahors. So we'll be talking about those 3 trail options and who they suit the best, because there are a lot of choices when it comes to this section. So the first one we'll focus on is the GR65, which is the main Puy Camino. This is going to be 90 kilometers from Figeac to Cahors, so it's the shortest one in length, and that's the one we would recommend for your first time. It's going to have the most services. It's going to have bigger towns. Again, if you're somebody who enjoys that pilgrim community, or at least having that opportunity to have those connections with other people, I would stay on this trail. And better accommodation, because with those bigger towns, it does give us more options in terms of where we can place guests. This is Cajac along the Lot River. So it's a great example of kind of the towns that you would pass along the way. The next option is going to be the Salé variant. So this one I just came back from hiking. It is beautiful, and it gets its name because you're going through the Salé Valley and the Salé River, which you can see there. It is going to be a bit more remote than the main GR65. So less services, like Linda said, you will have to be prepped in advance because there's not going to be places to supply readily. It's going to be more challenging. So a lot of it is hiking up and down the limestone cliffs. So you do get these beautiful views, but you do earn them. You got to earn them. And I would say the accommodation is going to be a bit more basic and modest, and there are fewer options. So really it depends on, if we do want to do this, we do have to look to see that there are accommodations available. But it is a gorgeous hike, and you do have some highlight cities such as here. This is Saint-Cyr-Popie. It's a plus beau village. So this is an option, I would say, if you were looking to get off the GR65, you don't mind it being a bit more remote or the lodging being a bit more modest, it's a great option.
And the physical challenge.
Physical challenge, exactly. The next one up would be the Rocamadour variant. So this one is going to be the longest in length. So the Salé variant is going to be 120K from Figeac to Cahors. This one is just about under 130. This would be the most demanding, even less services than the Salé variant. Lodging definitely is going to be a bit more basic and modest. And really, this kind of hiking is a lot of woodland, deep into the forest. You can see here these hikers are hiking up, and that town or that village on the cliff is Rocamadour, which is a highlight city that a lot of pilgrims like to see. So I would definitely say this option suits somebody who likes that rugged, remote, getting into the wilderness and away from civilization. You like being prepared. There is an option for guests to visit Rocamadour and not necessarily hike the Rocamadour variant. So we do recommend, if this is a town you want to see, adding a rest day in Figeac, because there is a train that goes direct to Rocamadour. It's 30 minutes. And it's a great way to visit the site with not necessarily having to leave the GR65. So that's something I would recommend for people who are like, I want to see that, but I'm not sure I want to handle that kind of hiking. Well, there's ways we can actually plan rest days where you can visit that.
And Figeac is a fantastic small city.
Yes.
So it's definitely nothing wrong with spending 2 nights there.
No.
And making the side quest, the day trip up to Rocamadour.
Exactly. So all these hikes, they end in the town of Cahors, which is really another highlight along the trail.
About the halfway-ish point.
Yeah, I would say if you're here, you've gone about halfway. And this image here is the medieval bridge in Cahors, which you will have seen images of this. It's probably one of the most iconic sites in the city. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's one of of the most well-preserved medieval bridges in France. And actually hikers, when they're continuing on from Cahors, you do walk over that bridge. So it's really beautiful, and it does take you back in time. That little image of a devil in the corner, it is kind of paying homage because this bridge, it was built in the 1300s and it actually took 70 years to construct. And local rumor had that the architect made a deal with the devil to just finish it because 70 years, I don't know if he was still alive. Anyway, when they did restoration works, they actually built this devil onto one of the spires. So if you are hiking the trail coming up, definitely have your eye out for that because it is paying homage to that local legend of the architect. Another thing that Cahors is very famous for, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner, is wine, the dark wine. And funny enough, Cahors was mentioned in Dante's Inferno because it had a lot of bankers, moneylenders, but also dark wine, which is paying homage to Malbec wine. So if you are in Cahors and you want to drink something local, get yourself a glass of Malbec. Now, once we start continuing on from Cahors and we're moving on to Condom, I would say a lot of the hiking is going to be similar here, a mix of rural farmlands, forests, some road walking, but not so much. It is undulating, and that hike out of Cahors
is a hard starter.
You will wake up. So, but take it slow. One of our most popular itineraries is our Cahors to Condom slow walk, which it is shorter distances. So while the hills are still there, you do have that time to finish them at a really comfortable pace. But these are two great images of kind of what you're going to see along the trail as you move on to Condom. That section is also very produce heavy. So that first photo of me in the lavender fields, that is in this section where, actually it was just after just before Montcuq, and that area used to produce lavender more so than Provence, but times have changed. Now Provence is the lavender capital, but that was an amazing field to cross. And also you have sunflower fields, you have apricots, apples. So it is produce heavy. And a lot of the lodgings you'll stay in, everything you're eating is coming from the neighbor's farm or, the cheese that was just produced locally. So for somebody, if you're a foodie, this is a great section because it's very rich. And then finally, once you get further on, you arrive in the town of Condom.
So Condom sort of breaks, I guess, the third sort of section and is the start of the last section of the Puy Camino. So Condom to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is a longer section, about 250 kilometres total for this sort of last section. Now, Condom is a fantastic small city as well. Of course, you can see from the photo here, dominated by its impressive cathedral, which is really spectacular. And also it's famous in the town centre. There's a statue of the Three Musketeers. So that's a great photo op for anyone visiting Condom. Condom's worth spending a rest day there. There's a tourist information centre in the town that can give you information about what to see and do. And there's a couple of really fantastic small villages outside Condom that you can do a side visit to if you've got a free day there. Larrasingle and Fawcett. That are very famous outside the town. That you won't walk past them, but if you've got a free day, you can visit. They're definitely worth a visit. So there's enough to occupy you in the town and things to visit if you've got the energy outside the town as well.
Lovely. And so the walk?
So walking from Condom to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, leaving Condom, you're still in the agricultural area, but the landscape sort of opens up. I guess properties become bigger as well. It becomes increasingly hilly as you start to go into the Basque country. You start to also enter the foothills, I guess, of the Pyrenees. So if you're lucky on clear days, you can get spectacular views of the Pyrenees up ahead. Of course, they start off as glimpses in the distance in good weather, but as you get closer, they become more noticeable, and the excitement builds as you're approaching Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port.
Getting in Armagnac country.
You start walking through the Armagnac country close to a place called Uzes, which is one of the medieval towns you walk through. But yes, continuing through the Basque country, settlements become more spread out.
Pinchos, start getting that Basque cuisine.
And you notice the architecture as well. The other thing is, as you start to get closer to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, once you get in this area, if you remember the map Liz showed back further near the start, that showed the various Camino routes through France, a number of the different routes join with the Le Puy Camino here. So you'll start to meet people who may not have been walking on the Le Puy Camino, but they're coming in from other Camino routes. So that's really fascinating and interesting, and it builds the excitement as you head towards your destination, Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. So here's a picture, a photo, sort of, I think, a classic photo capturing the emotion and all the feels as you arrive in the Basque town of Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, just right near the Spanish border, still in France, the end of your Le Puy Camino experience. But for many people, it's the start of their Camino Frances experience.
Exactly. So that's an option. We do have some guests who can walk all the way through, and that is something that is an option. I would say doing that is going to be quite a journey in length, but anything's possible. Oh, spot prize time. Yeah. All right, another opportunity. Get ready.
Okay, so if you get your typing fingers ready, the question to win the copy of the book, same book, is name the 2 alternative trail options or routes that Liz mentioned off the GR65 that take you from Vigiac to Cahors. So Liz talked about 2 of them.
We definitely got a winner. All right. So
who's the winner?
Whoever got that first, please send us your email and we will make sure
we'll just have to know who.
Victor,
yay.
Booked. On you, Victor. All right. Good on you, Victor. All right. So now we're going to go into the deep dives of some questions and we're going to cover some rapid topics. So first one is when to go.
Yeah.
Generally for our Camino routes, we recommend traveling in the shoulder season. So that's April, May, or September, October. For the Le Puy, we have a strict season. So your itinerary can't start before April 15th and can't go past October 15th. The months we don't recommend walking are July and August. August in particular, because it is the hottest month, and also it's a holiday month in France. So a lot of people are traveling, a lot of things are busy. So again, we would say April, May, early June, or September, October. Who can walk this trail, Sue?
So who can walk this trail? Well, as Linda mentioned, you do need to be fit, but we also do have options for people who perhaps don't want quite as challenging experience. There's always going to be hills. There's always going to be some steep ascents and descents. But, if you're great fitness and you like the physical challenge, the whole walk is fine. If you prefer a bit of a less challenging experience, we've got the Cahors to Condom slow walk, which is perfect. You still have hills, but it's not as rugged underfoot. It's fairly well trodden. So that's a great.
I would say, though, as Linda said, if you are looking for that Camino experience of exchanging with people from around the world, and you really are looking for that camaraderie, it would be better on the Camino Frances, where there are more people. Whereas this trail, you can meet people and it's very social, but I would say you're definitely going to have more moments alone on the trail
and more
people
and more interaction with French people rather than the group of tourists from all around the world. Sort of thing. The other thing is, if you really do want to do the first section, which is a fabulous section, I think the countryside, it's more rugged and beautiful, and the trail is more rugged and beautiful. There are some longer hiking distances, though. However, there are options we can help you walk through to either fast forward to skip a couple of the longer hiking days or more challenging hiking days and break down where we can some of the hiking days. So don't discount that first section. Yes. It is possible. We just need to work with you to make some variations.
All right. So typical navigation, Sue, can you tell us what you're looking at?
So like Linda mentioned, the horizontal white and red stripe is the main sort of marker of the Le Puy Camino. The French authorities give all their hiking routes numbers. So GR65 is the official designation of the Le Puy Camino. So you'll also see trails or markers with the GR65 sign or like written there, like on that top right-hand photo. You'll also see that sort of like that blue square with the stylized yellow sort of stylized Camino shell. That's another marking you'll see quite often, I think, more around towns or built-up areas. And then you also see wooden signs like on the left, or more modern sort of metal signs, particularly entering towns or cities, or we're at the intersection of various trails. So if you're lucky, they tell you how many kilometres to your destination. So you can either be relieved or be prepare yourself for more challenge.
So one thing that is important for the Puy Camino is the luggage. So on all our Camino routes, we transfer luggage daily. Each booking includes one bag that gets moved on your hiking days. For each Camino route, that weight of luggage is different. For the Puy Camino, it is very specific. It's a one bag, 13 kg, soft-sided. Now, I think I've heard a gasp on the other side of the screen. I know many people have never traveled with anything that small in their lives, so do not stress. We do have ways around this, but this image is a really good example of, you know, typical bags that are transferred daily, which is, you know, you have a duffel, you have a soft, you know, off spray wheelie bag, you have a backpack. What this transfer company won't move is hard luggage. So you can see that in the lower right-hand corner. So we do have ways where we can send hard luggage direct to the final location. And what we advise guests to do is maybe move your contents at the beginning of the trail so you are hiking with one of these acceptable bags, and then you redistribute at the end of your hike. But this is very specific and important to this route. But don't stress. We know people travel with way more than 13 kg, but it is something to know, to keep in mind.
So now quickly talking about the accommodation. In the larger towns and cities, we tend to try to get our clients to stay in sort of small boutique, independently owned hotels, but well located, as close to the centres, the historic centres, as possible. In the smaller places, you stay in a lot of owner-occupied establishments, like a French version of a B&B. So this is an example. This is in Montredon, Bien-Étoile, one of the places we use, which is between Conques and Cahors. It's a small town there, and this is Frank, who's one of the hosts. So this is just one example. They all have their own unique style and character. They're owner-occupied. The owner's usually the person who does the cooking. So it feels, when you stay there, almost like a homestay. It's a great chance for local interaction. The people are often from the area. They're very proud of their local area. They can tell you who's grown the fruit that's made the jam, or whose chickens have laid the eggs. And they're really special experiences. So the accommodation is a mix of these more smaller, intimate places.
But you will have hotels as well.
Yeah, and in larger towns and places, hotels.
But hosts do play a big part on this. And for some people, you know, that might be new, because they do eat with you sometimes, and they want to converse and have that exchange. So like Linda said, they do play a big role in the stay of the guests. Okay, food, absolutely, we need to talk about it. So this photo is from Market Day in Cahors, which is, when you think of market days, you think of France. At least that's the connection I make. So that is a highlight on this trail. You really do get to see, when you arrive on a market day, the town come to life, and people are, they're conversing. That is the social epicenter in day. So hopefully, if you book, or if you want to try to coordinate your trips with market days, that's something we would definitely recommend. In terms of typical food, you can see breakfast options here on the right, which some are going to be buffet styles. Others are going to be serving you at a table. On the left, you can see typical dinner options. So some, especially on those host days, they're going to be cooking food for you. Others, you have restaurant options. Food is available. I know people get concerned about it, but you can plan ahead, especially if you know what dates you're staying in towns. And then we're going to be green lentils, Aubrac beef in the back. Finally, lastly, people. As Linda said, there are less people on this trail, but that doesn't mean you can't get a sense of that Camino community. But definitely this trail is amazing for people who really enjoy that solitary experience, but also do like that connection with French culture as well.
Local people more than other tourists.
All right. So we have some time for questions, and hopefully we already have some questions here that we'll be able to go through, and we're getting questions as they come.
Do these as a bit of a speed question.
Yeah.
Can you buy extra baggage allowance?
You can. So again, each guest is allotted one bag up to 13 kg self-sided. But if you would like to buy direct transfers and you know you're booking with you're traveling with additional luggage, you can do that. We always check with our guests before their departure to make sure that they have that luggage allowance appropriately. So you don't need to know at booking, because we will check in with you later on.
Yeah. Now, this one, is there any possibility of starting April 12th? Well, if you're arriving into Le Puy-en-Velay on April 12th, that's fine, but you're walking no possibility to start until the 15th.
Exactly.
So April 15th is the start of the season. Something also to keep in mind, though, that first week you're walking across high country at elevation, and throughout April it can still be snowy. So if you're starting in Le Puy-en-Velay, it might be a good idea to just be mindful of that or start a bit later. Of course, if you were starting Cahors to Condom, something like that, you wouldn't have that issue, but it would still have to be April 15th.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people like to get the early start on the trail, but keep in mind our seasonal guidelines are there for you, because we're advising on weather conditions, we're advising on service availability. We don't want to send you out on a trail where it's cold, wet, and there's nothing open.
Things are still shut up.
Yeah, so definitely with every Camino route, if there is a season, it's done for an intention. So I would say definitely you can get in Le Puy earlier, but we wouldn't advise starting before that.
Now, do we recommend hiking sticks? So I've got to say, when I was there, almost most of the walkers were French, and most people did have hiking sticks. It's mostly the Aussies I found that didn't. You do have a lot of steep ascents and descents and lots of hills, so I'd recommend taking them. They are definitely beneficial. They take a lot of the load off your knees and your ankles. And if you're not using them, you can collapse them and hook them onto the back of your day pack. So yeah, no problem at all. But I definitely think it's a good thing to carry, especially for the steep ascents and descents.
Susan writes, is there a highlights itinerary? So Susan, the benefit of traveling with us is you can make a highlights itinerary.
Or we can make it.
Yeah. So, what you're looking forward to, and you give us an idea of, I want to do this, and how do I get between. We're there to advise you and create a custom itinerary for you. So even if it's not on the website, I would definitely reach out, and we love designing things unique for our travelers.
Yeah. Now, are there laundry facilities along the way? So in bigger towns and cities, there are laundry facilities. The hotel may do it if it's a small hotel, or you may need to go to a laundromat. In a lot of the small places, usually some places may have a washing machine, or they may offer to do your laundry when you get there, and that's wonderful. If not, usually you can wash your smalls in the hand basin, or they might have a designated common sort of area where you can wash them and hang them out on a line, or you can hang your things up in the shower. If you take a lightweight sort of hiking shirt and undergarments, then usually they'll dry quite quickly.
I would say, especially, we have those rest days in the larger towns for a reason. So a lot of those larger towns will have self-serve laundromats, and that's the time where you take everything and you go, and it's an hour with a couple euros, and you get everything like washed. So even if you don't wash daily, usually how I would do it is walk a couple of days. You have enough to switch out, but then in your rest day towns, you're going and you're doing a major load. Is the signage as good as the front says? I would say yes. It's different. On the front says you're looking for the yellow arrows, and most of the time you're just following the rest of the people on the trail. With the Le Puy, you are looking for those red and white stripes. But once your eye trains on it, they're everywhere, and it's called the Grand Randonnée Network in France. They are excellent at maintaining those. So really, once you get your eye on those stripes, you're going to see them everywhere. And it will be very clear, when they're in a horizontal line, that means that's the direction. And when they're in an X, that means you don't go down that path.
So the next two questions are just kind of relate a little bit. We're just trying to speed through these. One is, how busy is the walk in the second half of April? And that's from a Kate. And Vicky, I'm hoping to walk in May. I've heard there are a number of public holidays. How does this affect the walking? Well, the Le Puy Camino is nowhere near as busy as the Camino Frances. The Camino Frances has, hundreds of thousands, up to 500,000 or more a year. This has just a a couple of 100,000 up to 20,000-30,000, and most walkers don't do the full section. So there's way fewer walkers. Second half of April, as I mentioned, it depends which section you're talking about walking. But if you're talking from Le Puy, you could still have snow. It probably won't be busy at all. But the whole trail as a whole is not busy at all either. No. So I wouldn't expect it to be, it's not going to be busy anyway. It's sort of self-limiting in that respect, but not during the second half of April is not the time that I would expect would be one of the busier times. However, in May, yes, there are a couple of public holidays. The big one is the 1st of May, May Day, which is pretty much all throughout Europe. And then from memory, it's the 8th of May. The French have a second public holiday in that first week. A lot of French people take a few extra days in between to give that whole sort of week off and take it a bit like a spring break. So actually, when I started in Puy-en-Velay, I started on the 1st of May, and that was a lot of people, but we're talking a lot as in maybe 15 or 20 people were walking for those first few days, taking advantage of their sort of spring break period. But it was a really nice time. There were groups of uni students, groups of sort of families, groups of co-workers. So it's a really nice time. And it's great sort of weather, I'd say, that sort of early May. You do need to book early. If you wanted to wait till that's over, past the rush, that's a good idea. But again, you've got the transhumance, 20th-ish of May.
So I am cognizant of time, so we are going to just focus on maybe 2 more questions and do some updates and announcements. So one question I'm going to ask you, Sue, is can people get a Compostela on this trail?
No, that's a really good question. So we do give you a pilgrim passport, and you can collect stamps as you go along, but it's not like the Camino Frances. The Camino Frances, when you get to Santiago, you can get your Compostela, your pilgrim certificate. Here, when you get to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is the end of your Puy Camino, at this stage, you don't get awarded a Compostela. So your pilgrim passport with all the stamps is the memento.
So that is still very much a part of this journey, but for many people who do want that certificate, you don't get it in
no, you won't get a certificate. I've got one question for you, a quickie. So lots of you will know next year is a holy year on the Camino Frances, and they're expecting a lot of people. So a question is, will the holy year have an effect on the Le Puy Camino?
Yeah, so we have an article about the holy year on our website inside page, so definitely click on that to learn more. But next year is a holy year, which it means there will be more numbers on all trails, especially the Camino Frances, but all trails will experience an uptick in pilgrims because some people will choose to only walk on holy year. But I definitely think for this trail, you're not going to get in a situation where it's a conga line of people. If anything, it's going to give you more opportunity to connect with people along the trail.
And it's largely self-limiting in a lot of respects. Now, I did see one question just quickly come through, someone asking about the app and which app we recommend for this trip. We have our own Raw Travel app.
Oh, I would recommend that app.
We have our own Raw Travel app, which includes the route information, the navigation function, but it also has your information about your specific accommodation and everything. So you've got it all in one place.
Exactly.
And there's also messaging function with some of our operations team where if there's an alert to do with, weather alert or something, they can send that through the app to you while you're out in the trail.
So we do have more questions, but we are out of time, which means if we haven't answered anything, please send a question to the Your Camino Gmail, which we'll put, our Raw Travel email, which we'll put up shortly. If we haven't gotten to anything, please send it through. We'd love to help. Some announcements. So do we offer any solo deals? And do we have a loyalty program for repeat guests? Well, I hope you all are paying attention. Please sign up to our newsletters because we do have something exciting in the pipeline that we will be launching within the next couple of days.
Sneak preview.
But it does reward our very our raw travel guests that come with us year after year. So definitely sign up for that newsletter, because we will be announcing that within the next couple of
week or two.
Yeah. No, we'll keep it a surprise, everybody.
Just look out, it's coming shortly.
We also do have a Camino Spain special. So maybe if this trail is not the one you're looking at and you're looking at a Camino Frances, we are currently offering a current Spanish Camino special. So get in touch with us, because definitely you can save some money if that's the trail for you. And I think that's it. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, if we didn't answer your questions, send us, your inquiries through, and we really appreciate you taking this time to go on a journey with us.
No, we really appreciate it. As Liz said, any questions, shoot them through. We're sorry if we didn't get to you.
And this is the email, just so that you can all take a screenshot, yourcamino@rawtravel.com, or you can call our number. We operate Monday through Friday. We love to hear from you. And as they say on the Le Puy Camino, bon chemin.
Bon chemin. Bye.
Bye.